Alright guys, what we're going to do today is we're going to find the domain and range given the piecewise graph. So I'm going to give you the graph, you're going to look at it and see what the domain and range are. Before we start with the graphs, let's go over some basic vocabulary words. So first, the domain, that's your independent variable, which is what? Your x or your y's? Anybody know? It is your x's. So it is your x values. Your range is your dependent value. And if that is your x's up there, then the range is going to be your y's. Now, I bet you guys learned this in Algebra 1. Domain and range. So I don't think it should be super new. Okay, so domain's your x's, range is your y's. It says there are 3 ways to write domain and range. We're going to only study 2 here. You'll pick up the 3rd one in calculus. So your inequality notation, it is written with your inequality symbols. So you're less than, you're greater than, you're less than or equal to, you're greater than or equal to. So we will write them with inequality symbols. Your interval notation is written with parentheses or brackets. Now, if you're doing the parentheses, they don't include the numbers, like these, okay? These are the same as these. The ones with the underneath line that do include the number, those are the brackets, okay? So these and these go together. You'll see when we do an example here in a second. Okay, so let's just look at one. Let's look at this first one. You can't see my other little arrow up here, but it's up there. Okay, so when we look at the domain, we want to look at the x values, and we want to see, are those x values on the graph? So like, here's my x's right here, right? So if you look at all the x's, let's start at 0. There's a point on the graph. Let's go to 1. See, if I go up, that point is 1, 1. If I go over, this is 2, 2. It's on the graph. 3's on the graph. 4's on the graph. 5 is on the graph. 6 is on the graph. And it will go on forever and ever. That's an arrow. So all of the positive numbers are on this line right here. Now let's go negative numbers. Negative 1 is on the graph. Here's negative 2 on the graph. 3's on the graph. 4's on the graph. 5, 6, and it will keep going forever and ever. So all of my x's are on the graph. So how I write that is I write negative infinity to positive infinity. We always start with the negative, okay? They are just the less thans, not the little lines underneath, because you're not going to include infinity. Infinity is a number that's going to go on forever and ever and ever, okay? So the infinities will never have that little line under it, okay? For interval notation, let's just go down here and do interval notation. See how these are, they don't have the little lines under it? That means, let me scoot down my paper, the little lines under it, those are the parentheses, okay? So for my domain, it's the same thing. I'm just going to write it with parentheses, okay? These are the same answers. They're just a different notation. That's all. All right, now let me switch pens. Here is your y. So again, let's check which numbers are on the y. Let's start at 0, and I'm going to do the positive first. So 0 is on the graph. Look, 1, 1's on the graph. 2, 2's on the graph. 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all the positives are on the graph. Now let's look at negatives. Negative 1, yep. Negative 2, yep. Negative 3, yep. Negative 4, yep. Negative 5, yep. They're all on the graph. So again, we're going negative infinity, but instead of writing x, we're going to write a y this time to positive infinity. And again, we're just going to switch it over to interval with parentheses. All right, let's just try another one because, again, practice is what's going to make perfect. Okay, so let's go over to this one now. I'm just going to highlight my domain, which is my x's, and let's see what happens. I'm going to do the positive first. So 0 is on the graph. That guy's on the graph, on it, on it, on it, on it, on it. So all the positive side has this graph right here. So now let's look at negative. Okay, got him, got him, got him, got him, got him, got him. So all the negative is on the graph. Okay, so we've got all the positive and all the negative, so we know it's negative infinity to positive infinity. Let's go ahead and write our domain interval because all it is switch it over to a parenthesis. All right, now let me switch colors so we can look at that range. Here is my range. Here's my range. All right, let's do the positive first. 0's on it, 1's on it. Oh, nope. 2 ain't on it. 3's not on it. Nobody's got 2. Nobody's got 3. 4's on it. Nobody's got 5, 6. Okay, you see how there is no graph that contains a point something 2, something 3? Like there's no graphs in between here, and there's no graphs in between there. So we'll think about that. Let's just give it a timeout for a minute. Let's go down here to the negatives. 0's got 1, negative 1's got 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. So all the negatives are covered. Okay, so all the negatives are covered. So what are we going to do? I don't know, it's kind of hard, right? So we're going negative infinity to what? What number does it stop at? Negative infinity to 1. Negative infinity to 1. Okay? Then there's like a break in the graph. So 2 isn't on a graph, 3 isn't on a graph, but 4 is on a graph. You see how 4 is the straight line? The straight line right here. Okay, anytime it is a straight line, that's just a line, okay? So this is at y equals 4. So we put a little comma, y equals 4. Okay, so again, anytime it's just a horizontal line, okay? Not a linear, well, that's linear, but not like a line like this. I'm talking about just straight up horizontal. You can say y equals that number. Now, there's one mistake I have up here, so I want to make sure that we catch it. Negative infinity, yes, that does have just the less than symbol without the line underneath it. But the 1 does have a line underneath it. It's a closed circle right here. That means it's included in the domain. So I got to make sure I make that little underline. And then again, remember, anytime you have a horizontal line, you just write it as a equation. Okay? Now, when we switch it over to the range, down here, the interval, you're going to have 2 pieces too. So this one, because there's not a line under it, is a parenthesis. But what's that one? Yeah, bracket. Good. So you'll have parenthesis, bracket. And let me go again and tell you why you have parenthesis and bracket. So remember up here, when you just have these, they're parentheses. When you have the underline, it's a bracket. So down here, infinity will always have the parenthesis. And then this one has an underline, so it has a bracket. And remember, this one has the underline because there's a closed circle. That means it's included in the range. This guy right here, we just have a bracket and a 4 because it's only on the 4. See how it's only on the y's 4? Okay, so 4 is included in the domain, or not domain, the range, and it's only 4. Okay, so that one was a smidge bit harder. Let's try a different one. Let's go over here. Now, let me get a different color. I'm going to highlight my x's. So here's my x's right here. So if I look here, look at your x's here. I'm going to do the positives first. So 0's got something, 1's got something, 2's got something, 3's on something, 4's on something, 5's on something, 6's on. So we've got everything from the positives we got. Now let's look at the negatives. Negative 1 has got something. Does negative 2? No, there's nothing down here. Does negative 3? No. Negative 4? No. Negative 5? No. There's nothing down here past the negative 1. So it's kind of like negative 1 and above. Okay? So -1 and above. See how we write that? -1 and above. Now, infinity never has the line under it, but what about this -1? Yep, closed circle right here on -1. Boop. Got him. Oh my gosh, you guys, that is the range. Did you not check me? Okay, let's try that again. Okay, let's try the domain again. I was doing the range. Let's try the domain. Let's do the positive sides. Okay, 0's got 1, 1's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've all got 1. Okay, let's go negative. This guy's got 1, -1, -2, -3. Now this line is going to go up and up forever, okay? So it's going to catch all these two. So our domain is all reals, -infinity to infinity. Okay, let's go ahead and do the interval down here. Okay, now I got excited and did the range when I was supposed to be doing domain. So it's the same thing. Remember, -1 to infinity. So -1 to infinity. Okay, now the -1 will have an underline, okay, because it's included in the range, closed circle. So if this one has an underline, is that a bracket or a parenthesis? Good, bracket. Infinity is always a parenthesis. All right, so just try some on your practice sheet. If you need some extra help, just come ask. See ya.